Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Wednesday, May 4th, 2011, and I'm Darko. This is my website, www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. You have one day left here to vote on this poll here. What are your feelings on the Obama birth certificate issue? He is not a U.S.-born citizen. The document is real. He is not a U.S.-born citizen. His birth certificate is real, but he was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia. Right now it's 54% saying that, followed by 22% saying not sure, but it is an important issue. And lastly, we have not sure, but there are more important issues at 28%. There's only one day left to vote on that. And if you move down here all the way at the bottom, you can follow me on Facebook by clicking on that button right there with Network Blogs. Other than that, I usually start off with the economy. And first up is U.S. stocks. Commodities drop on economic data. It says here U.S. stocks fell and commodities slumped while 10-year treasuries rallied for a fifth straight day as lower than forecast growth in service industries and employment damped optimism about the health of the economy. It says the euro and Portuguese bonds rose after a bailout agreement. And I'll report on that later. China stocks plunge on Wednesday. And we have Chinese shares fell sharply Wednesday with the benchmark Shanghai Composite Index down 66.17 points or 2.26%. Said the index on Wednesday has fallen to its lowest point in more than 2 months. Then the yen, Swiss franc gain on dollar. And talking about Japanese currency, it says here risk aversion swept through the markets, punishing commodity-linked currencies and boosting safe havens such as the yen and the Swiss franc. And the Swiss franc, Canadian dollar right now are the most solid. George Soros seems to think that the euro is in there with that as well. Says it hit a record high against the U.S. dollar. Next up, we have FOREX-Dollar tumbles to 3-year low. Data underpins rate view. Weak U.S. jobs service data adds to dollar woes. Euro hits 17-month high, but fades ahead of ECB meeting, and dollar at 6-week low versus yen. And it says here 1-month euro dollar implied vol rise again, whatever the heck that means. But we have pound slumps on growth fears and stagnant rates. The pound yesterday slumped to its lowest level in over a year against the euro on fears of growth. And it says here, and a forecast that interest rates will not rise until 2014. Chinese yuan, or yuan, continues to weaken against U.S. dollar on Wednesday, and then Canada's dollar seen rebounding as currency of choice with Harper winning a mandate. And then I like to go through the commodities market here. It says commodities in broad sell-off, sending global stocks lower. It says here oil and metal prices slumped Wednesday, sending global stocks lower as well as investors worried about the potential for a steep correction after last month's rally. And then go through here, and right here we've been noticing an increase just like previous to the Fukushima disaster, and then after the disaster it went down, and then it's been climbing again, and now we're going down and then going back up, and it's kind of steadying right now, but still, I mean, you look overall, I mean, compared to what, you know, a year ago, it's a lot higher. But yeah, Brent crude is $120.64. It was down $1.81. Heating oil was down $4.70. Basically, all across the boards was down. As far as energy, agriculture, cocoa was down $60. Coffee down $11. Corn was the only one that was really up, $5.75. And moving down here to copper, copper was down $11.90. Gold down $25. It's trading at $1,515.30 an ounce. Silver at under 40 now. It says $39.38. It was down $3.19. Silver slips below the $40 mark. Spooks other markets. Reports on Wall Street Journal. Crude tumbles after oil supplies climb. An economic impact of oil price increases on Asia Pacific region, says U.S. survey. Rising global oil prices are increasing concern for oil importing countries in the Asia Pacific region. The UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific said in its annual survey on Wednesday. Then we have U.S. Treasuries. It says China has decreased its holdings of U.S. debt. It says mainland China has decreased its holdings of U.S. Treasury securities since last October, according to a report updated today by the U.S. Treasury Department. And then it says here, China to dump 2/3 of U.S. debt reserves, and they have been dumping the reserves since November. It says here, amid near daily reports that the U.S. dollar continues to slide in value, comes a report that China, the largest holder of U.S. debt, is considering dumping 2/3 of its dollar reserves, which currently stands at about $3.4 trillion. And says here, according to a report from China's Xinhua news agency, Xia Bin, a member of the Chinese Central Bank's Monetary Policy Committee, recommends Beijing reinvest its foreign exchange reserves, quote, more strategically. He says China should lower its holdings to about $1 trillion instead. Says here, Treasury suggests $2 trillion debt cap raise sources. So this is so they can keep borrowing money that doesn't exist from people who aren't born yet. And it says here, Illinois State Police looking to save at the pumps. It says they're trying to improve gas mileage. And we have, look at this, but as WBBM's Bob Rob reports, you don't have Argonne National Laboratory scientists studying how to do it. And that's right, this is one of the national laboratories that are involved in the weather modification and producing of nanoparticles, little mini robots that are pumping through your bloodstream as we speak. It says here, an Argonne research team that includes a former Ford engine designer will use a state police Crown Vic Interceptor as the test bed for the next year, and they're going to try to figure out how to make these cars more fuel efficient. So it says here, British Gas warns of price explosion. British families could face fresh energy difficulties after the UK's largest supplier warned that it may shut a major gas field over a tax dispute with the government. Then we have about 1 in 7 in the United States receive food stamps, and 10 states where pensions are running out of money. And we have Pennsylvania at number 10, Maryland at number 9, Colorado at number 8, Massachusetts at 7, Kansas at 6, Oklahoma at 5, New Jersey at 4, and New Hampshire at 3, and of course Illinois at number 2, and number 1 is Kentucky. So it says the state of Kentucky is extremely underfunded pension account, coupled with its recent poor contributions, place it as the worst off state for pension funding. So, all right, and we have teen mums. Usually they say moms, but in Australia or in the UK, they usually say mums may lose welfare payments. Teenage parents will face losing their welfare payments 6 months after their child is born unless they meet the new study and work requirements under the federal government's Tough Love project or budget. U.S. may pursue more lenders after suing Deutsche Bank on faulty mortgages. The U.S. Department of Justice may pursue claims against other lenders after suing Deutsche Bank AG for more than $1 billion, alleging the firm lied while arranging federal insurance on faulty mortgages. Then we have house prices resume downward trend, says nationwide house prices resume their downward trend during April as the property market remained volatile, according to the nationwide Building Society's House Price Index. New home sales up in Australia 4.3% in March, says study. New home sales say they're up 4.3% in March. Demand for detached houses boosts results, and it says here sales still not as healthy not at healthy levels, HIE economists say. U.S. debt rating should be C, independent agency says. There have been increasing concerns about the fate of the U.S. prized AAA sovereign debt rating, says while S&P's recently downgraded its U.S. debt outlook to negative from stable, implying that a ratings cut could happen in 2 years. One independent ratings agency has given the U.S. sovereign rating a C. And then moving on here, bill to take mortgage market off government support. And we look here, it says a bill to create a new market for financing mortgages that would help wean the $10.6 trillion United States mortgage market off government support advanced in the House Representatives on Tuesday. The House Finance Committee Capital Markets sponsored approved the legislation on a voice vote. Okay, UK prime properties sold to foreigners. A survey carried out by British Lloyd's TSB Bank shows that the number of sold properties worth over £1 million has been increasing significantly during 2010. It says the increase in the prime properties selling to foreigners has risen by 54% since 2009, which was the biggest annual increase since 2006, the peak of property. Then world's millionaires ranks seen soaring through 2020. It says the rich keep getting richer, both here in the United States and especially in the world's emerging markets. Luxury goods markets surged in 2010. Global sales of luxury goods, including gold, jewelry, and watches, surged in recent months and have been even better outlook. There's been an even better outlook going forward, consulting firm Bain & Company said this week. So most of these links will be posted. If I don't post them, it's usually because of a technical glitch, or I just run out of room to put the links in there. But most headlines with the links will be posted in the video's description on YouTube, and my YouTube channel is ddarko2012. We have report urges United States open door policy to China investment flood. Tens of billions of dollars of Chinese investment could flood into the United States in the next decade, creating a multitude of American jobs if officials do not succumb to a political backlash and throw up barriers, according to a report released on Wednesday. Then U.S. service industry expands at weakest pace since August as orders cool. Factory slowdown rules out imminent rate rise, and this is disappointing. Manufacturing output figures for April have virtually ruled out any chance of the Bank of England policymakers raising interest rates at their meeting starting on, well, today. South Korea approves EU trade deal. South Korea's parliament, which is, pretty much backed by the West, has approved the free trade agreement with the European Union despite strong objections by civil activists and opposition legislators. So just get that puppy through. Fed's Williams says high inflation is very unlikely as commodities ease. And then we'll move on to Spain's unemployment. It threatens economic stability. It says skilled technical workers are moving to Germany. Unemployment in Spain continues to rise. Last week, official statistics reported that the unemployment rate has risen to 21.3%, up from 20.3% in a previous quarter. Then teen joblessness may hit record in summer 2011, a record low. 1 in 4 U.S. teenagers will land a summer job in the coming months as a result of a still poor job market and lost federal funding, according to a report issued on Monday. And this is happening in the UK to have reported on that. UK, as far as teen joblessness, is high as well. OECD annual inflation rises to 2.7% in March. The annual rate of consumer price index, CPI area, rose to 2.7% in a year to March from 2.4% in February. And we have expats squeezed as OECD reports rising inflation. British expats are feeling the squeeze as inflation continues to accelerate in France, Italy, and Spain, according to the figures from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Then how the Fed triggered the Arab Spring uprisings and too easy grass. It said it is possible to join the dots between the Fed's second phase of quantitative easing and the revolutions in the Middle East. And that's what initially did spark it off. It was high food prices and that fuel prices, and of course intelligence agencies and all these different international councils and globalists basically went in there and did what they had to do to get regime changes going. Says here, Greens step up carbon tax push, but carbon tax opposition more than support. This is about Australia. Says there is far more opposition to Prime Minister Julia Gillard's carbon tax than there is support for it, an opinion poll has found. And then we have the new Victorians. Families face biggest cash crunch since 1870s. Families face the greatest pressure on their finances for nearly 150 years. The report has warned workers face a combination of inflation and low pay rises, or even freezes for a fourth year in a row, according to international financial consultants. Said it'll be the first time since the 1870s that real wages, the sum you earn after inflation has been taken into account, have fallen for four successive years. East China Enterprise faced blackouts amid power shortages. I report on that. They are basically going to start scaling back their power usage. Railcorp rejects ConAgra's $4.9 billion takeover bid, so that's good news. And I just want to point out here that this is part of their green policies as well. I know that's what they'll say, and that's what they have been saying. The green policies as far as just cutting back and actually causing blackouts. It says here to save the planet. U.S. private sector providing drug war mercenaries to Mexico. Job posting seeks former soldiers to provide urban warfare and counterinsurgency training. Finishing up here, Saudi prince worth billions gets World Bank loan to build luxury motel. One of the world's richest men and member of the Saudi royal family has received approval for a $26 million loan from a branch of the World Bank to build a luxury hotel in Ghana, a West African nation with a developing economy, but where 40% of the people live in poverty. And lastly, official Portugal bailout to be $115 billion. Hard up, Portugal has negotiated an international bailout worth $115 billion over a 3-year period, officials said. Please join me in the second part. This is GGN, and I'm Darko. Thank you.